the Bahamas was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in the year 2019. The government initiated measures to prevent the spread, such as lockdowns and social distances. The COVID-19 pandemic affected alcohol consumption, mental health, and domestic child abuse. To prove this, we did a qualitative study in which there was 194 participants. A semi-structured interviews was conducted through the hospital and university outlets. One of the limitations that were found while we were performing the study is there was not enough research on child abuse in which related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Good day, I'm student nurse Murphy, and my group and I examined and studied the impact of COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns here in Beeman household. Conducted with 194 participants, the study grouped for 4 guiding themes. They were alcohol abuse, family child abuse, mental health, and coping mechanisms to examine the effect of social isolation here in the Bahamas. Studies point to increases in alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco use here. Researchers in various countries have reported increased alcohol consumption during COVID-19 lockdowns compared to pre-pandemic. Several factors are associated with the increased rate of alcohol consumption, including physiological stress, increased free time, misinformation about alcohol, unemployment, altered sleep patterns, increased anxiety and depression, decreased physical activity, isolation, decreased social connections. Evidence from other countries also showed that alcohol consumption decreased during COVID-19 pandemic. Declines in alcohol consumption were seen among those with higher education, health-conscious individuals, social workers, and family. Therefore, the findings regarding alcohol consumption behaviors associated with the lockdown phase are unclear. Based on the results, there is mixed evidence in increase, decrease, or no change in alcohol consumption. Child abuse. The response to a pandemic outbreak has a profound impact on children. There are huge drops in education, poor mental health, low rates of routine immunization, and missed meals. New evidence suggests lockdowns are exacerbating child abuse worldwide. Child abuse was on the rise in both developing and third world countries. For domestic violence, the report further noted that most women reported increased isolation, mental health problems, severe abuse, and increased use of restriction to control access to support during the lockdown period. As for mental health, the results showed an 8.1% trend in mental health deterioration during lockdowns, with young adults and women more affected. The pandemic has been found to lead an increase in several mental disorders. These include the spread of novel coronavirus, which is a major impact on the mental health of people here in various communities. It is therefore important to maintain the mental health of individuals while developing sociological interventions that can improve the mental health of vulnerable groups. Our questions that helped us to formulate this study were: what was the effect of COVID-19 lockdown on alcohol consumption patterns? Number 2, what was the effect of COVID-19 lockdown on mental health status? Number 3, what was the effect of COVID-19 lockdown on domestic abuse? And number 4, what is the impact of COVID-19 lockdown on child abuse?
Hello, my name is Julian Mims, and I'll be speaking about our methodology, or the beginning of our methodology, the research design and sampling. This study is a cross-sectional study with a descriptive research design. The design is appropriate for the study for several reasons. First, it offered an opportunity for the investigators to thoroughly examine the background of the research issue. Furthermore, it allowed the researchers to measure the changes in variables, hence providing for identifying and analyzing the patterns or trends. The descriptive research design also compares various factors and how demographics respond to variables. It also aids in determining participants' traits, including behaviors and opinions. Additionally, descriptive research design aids in the verification and validation of the existing conditions. As far as sampling, a random sampling method was utilized to conduct the study. This approach suits this study because the study targets a particular population. Participants aged 18 to 65 years and should have experienced lockdown during the COVID-19 outbreak. Furthermore, it is critical to use the sampling method since it provides for the generalizability of the results. Participants were notified about the study through the universities and hospitals' websites. A sample of 398 participants were drawn for the recorded population of 73,768 persons living in New Providence during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the Department of Lands and Surveys of the Bahamas, to participate in the study. The sample size was determined using Taro Yamein's 1967 formula for calculating the sample size from a given population.
Good day, my name is Belanda Osney and I will be presenting the data collection tools and methodology procedures of this research. Questionnaires were developed to investigate the impact of COVID-19 lockdowns on alcohol consumption, mental health, and domestic and child abuse. Data was collected over a 14-day period. Participants were fully informed of the research paper and its objectives beforehand. Any concerns expressed by participants was discussed thoroughly, and consent forms were signed prior to the initial start of all investigations. All ethical guidelines were adhered to. The collection of data was conducted in 4 areas, such as the university and the surrounding hospital, educational institutions, and private business establishments within the area. Professional backgrounds range from registered nurses, nursing students, managers, technicians, teachers, entrepreneurs, cashiers, maintenance personnel, and unemployed persons, as well as those within the minimum wage bracket. Investigations followed all the inclusion criteria stipulated for this research. The demographic characteristics of participants was collected for an understanding of the cultural background and correlate its relation of the impact or to the impact of COVID-19 lockdowns on alcohol consumption, mental health, and domestic and child abuse. Data tools used to conduct research investigations include the Total Audit C-score, the Synthesis Matrix, and Barton's theory of thematic analysis and survey planning. A discrete nominal item was used in exploring alcohol consumption and awareness of abuse status. A 0 to 10 response scale, where 0 means absolutely nothing and 10 strongly describes what participants felt, was used for the assessment of mental health. Participants were asked to respond with either yes or no if experienced, witnessed, or had any involvement in child and domestic abuse. All statistical data was processed through the IBM SPSS Statistics for Windows.
Good morning. I am Christina Nicholas, and I will be speaking about the dissemination plan and ethical considerations of procedures for this project. The dissemination plan for effects of lockdown due to COVID-19 pandemic on alcohol consumption, mental health, domestic violence, and child abuse, the case of Bahamian families. In this background, the effects of alcohol consumption, mental health, domestic violence, and child abuse, the case of Bahamian families, is an academic research study involving the effects of these variables during the pandemic among Bahamian families. In this research, 194 participants in the Bahamas provided their time, their talents to express via semi-structured interviews through various hospitals and universities outlets over a 2-week period. The challenges they encountered in alcohol consumption, domestic violence, mental health, and child abuse. The dissemination plan of project findings. First and foremost, a sharing of survey questions between the ages of 18 to 65 years was completed by providing the questionnaires electronically via the internet. The second was at the assignment's completion, and it included a random sampling method which was used to target a particular population. However, the sample size survey was determined through the Taro-Yamane 1967 formula. Moreover, the audit C was used to make the survey questions to assess alcohol. A synthesis matrix was used to collect data in domestic abuse. Badin's theory of thematic analysis was used for mental health abuse. The academic institution, stakeholders, healthcare professionals, community and local policies are the end users. These population advocates who can take the findings and initiate actions to address or identify these issues among Bahamian families. University students, the community, healthcare professionals, adults, elderly, clinical educators, and policy advocates can also utilize this project presentation to educate themselves and others on the effects of alcohol, domestic abuse, child and mental abuse on persons, and where to seek help if needed. Bearing in mind that this is our aim to have this project be useful for presentations and social media outlets, we would also like to continue evaluating the dissemination and publish this research paper in the near future, and also make it retrievable on the internet and to request for academic and community presentations. The ethical procedures for this survey was reviewed and granted approval by the Institutional Research Advisory Board, Office of Graduate Studies and Research of the University of the Bahamas, NASA. The ethical guidelines for voluntary and consenting participation were respected in accordance with the Belmont Report 1978. Participants were provided their written, informed consent to participate in this study. Participants also underwent COVID-19 screening before entering the study and were advised to wear masks to prevent any possible spread of the virus. Personal information was not divulged, and all information was kept confidential. All data obtained remained confidential for the sole purpose of this research. Participation was voluntary, and the participant had reserved the right to opt out of the study at any time. So, in all words, we would say that all procedures, ethical procedures, and consideration was met for the purpose of this study. Thank you.
Nine 9.5% of people studied, while 23% passed the time by eating, working, binge watching movies, and other educational resources. The findings will aid in the development of intervention and strategies to aid victims and stop future incidents in events of pandemics, outbreaks, or related to lockdowns, because alcoholism, mental illness, domestic violence, and child abuse are regarded major health and social issues. In similarity, the healthcare workers will be better prepared to handle lockdowns related problems. The study concluded will serve as the foundation for policies that aim to safeguard the population's most valuable members. This investigation expands on early investigations that looked at how COVID-19 affected people's health. Additionally, it touches on issues including alcohol use, mental health, domestic violence, and child abuse.